What do you mean I'm not alone?
Andy, you're not the only one who likes Jonah.
Cyrus's bar mitzvah is definitely a memorable one, so let's break down season 2, episode 13 of Andy Mack right here on What Happened. Hey everyone, Lisa here, and it is time for another Andy Mack recap. This time, it is all about Cyrus's bar mitzvah, or should I say Bash Mitzvah. I have to say, Andy Mack is really showcasing different cultures, and I think it's actually amazing. Earlier this season, we got to see Andy and her family celebrate Chinese New Year, and this episode, we're getting to see Cyrus celebrate his bar mitzvah, which I think is a great way to introduce other cultures to viewers. It's such a fun way, and doing it in a show like this, it's great. Now, this hour-long episode had quite a few things happen, and of course, there is a cliffhanger because this is the mid-season finale, and we're going to have to wait until June for the next set of episodes. The good news, though, is that it was announced that the show is getting a season 3, which we can look forward to towards the end of the year. And I gotta say, the reactions from the cast on Good Morning America were priceless.
Raise the signs.
Alright, so now the big things in this episode. Cyrus finally comes out to Andy, Buffy gets a fortune that hints she may be moving, Andy meets a new guy named Walker, Bex and Bowie try to discuss what's going on with Miranda, Jonah suffers a panic attack, and then the cliffhanger is Jonah asks Andy to be his girlfriend. So, let's dive in. First, we'll go with the Bex, Bowie, and Andy storyline. Bex is still clearly kind of upset and thinking about seeing Bowie with Miranda and her daughter at mini-golf. Andy's upset about having to be in the same place as Jonah, so Bex gives Andy some advice and tells her to act as if he isn't there and it doesn't upset her, which she plans to do with Bowie at the party as well. Bex is going to pretend like she doesn't care who he's dating. We'll see how that goes, right? Later, Bex brings Andy out to the caricature booth to get one done. Bowie then shows up and grabs a chair and says he wants to be in on it, but you can clearly tell that Bex just wanted it to be her and Andy. Bowie continues to insist though, and Bex kind of fails at the exercise she was trying to tell Andy to do, and she takes a jab at Bowie.
Family portrait.
To add to your collection?
Collection? Collection of what?
I'm kidding. Can't you tell when I'm kidding?
Yes, I can.
They finally reveal to Bowie that they saw him with Miranda and her daughter at mini-golf, so Andy says it must be pretty serious, or at least Miranda thinks so if she introduced him to her daughter. Andy then asks if it is serious, and Bowie doesn't answer, making things even more awkward, causing Bex and Bowie to get up and leave. A slow song then starts playing on the dance floor, and Bowie asks Bex to dance, and at the start of the party they mentioned how this probably would have been what their prom night would have looked like if they had gone. Bex dances with Bowie and then starts giggling, thinking about high school, and they even rest their foreheads against each other, and I just have to say, chemistry right now, off the charts. Like, I wanted to scream at them and say, just tell each other how you feel, because it's obvious. And we know that Bex tried to hide her feelings before because she didn't want to get in a relationship. She wanted to pursue her career, but it's just there. You can feel it, right? I know you were probably screaming at the TV too. Of course, our wish doesn't happen, and then what does Bowie do? He puts his head on Bex's shoulder when he comes to talk to her again, and it's just more cuteness that just makes me continue to root for these two. Bowie asks Bex where Andy is because he wants to talk to both of them about this whole Miranda situation. Bex tells him he can just talk to her for now, and he pulls out this speech that he wrote. Bowie is hesitant to read it, and Bex says that she and Andy know they're his family, but they still need him to remind them. So Bowie starts to read the first part of the speech, which is for Andy, but he chokes up and just gives Bex the speech and tells her to read it after he leaves. She starts to read it and, of course, starts to cry. After the Bash Mitzvah is over, Andy reads Bowie's speech and wants to call him right away, but Bex has a reason for her not to.
I consumed an entire dessert table. My body is very angry. It refuses to think or move.
I have an idea. Act as if you didn't eat anything.
Please see me tomorrow for my snappy comeback.
I love Bex. I honestly think she might be one of the more relatable characters on this show, because that's what I do when I I'm just like, I ate too much, ate my feelings. Can't do anything, guys, sorry.
Throw a blanket over me and pretend I'm laundry. Hi, Bex.
That's my laundry.
Hi, Jonah.
Let's move on to Buffy. At the party, Buffy is going after Andy when TJ walks into the party and says hi. He actually shows a nice side by telling Buffy he's happy for her and her mom and that he knows she must hate him. Buffy then gets a little catty though, saying she doesn't hate him, but as far as she's concerned, he doesn't even exist. Ouch. I feel like I would rather have someone hate me than have them think I don't exist. Cyrus, Buffy, and Andy then go to see the fortune teller, and they each have to write down a yes or no question. Cyrus's question is if he'll get into an Ivy League college, and his answer is yes, but he won't graduate from it. Buffy's question is if her mom is home for good. The fortune teller says no, but neither are you. Now, as a military kid, I kind of know what this means. It means that Buffy's most likely moving because her mom is getting stationed somewhere else. But Buffy doesn't seem to really understand what the fortune teller means by that. And it's just like, well, where am I going? She then proceeds to tell the others that the fortune teller just can't be real. Later, TJ finds Buffy and asks her something that he says he can only talk to her about. He asks if she thinks the fortune teller is the real deal or not, and then asks Buffy what she asked her. Buffy says she isn't telling TJ what she asked, but she hopes that she wasn't right. TJ then shows Buffy what he asked the fortune teller. It was the question, do I have a learning disability? He says that the fortune teller said yes, and then said, let your friend help you. Now, Buffy just seems to think that the fortune teller kind of made up the last part, since Andy, Cyrus, and her all told the fortune teller their question, and then the fortune teller gave the little something extra. But TJ, he's just like, you know what, I never told her what my question was. TJ then asks her if she thinks the fortune teller is real again, and Buffy's now kind of upset and it's setting in what's happening, and she says she doesn't know and leaves. She then calls her mom to finally ask, and it seems like good news for Buffy. Her mom says she isn't going overseas for at least 2 years. Now Buffy wants a word with the fortune teller to tell her that she's wrong, so the three go back, and Buffy gives the fortune teller an earful, saying it was cruel telling her that her mom would be deployed again. Well, the fortune teller's like, I never said that, and repeats what she said before, and you know what, the fortune teller's kind of right. She never said her mom would be deployed again. Andy and Cyrus both figure out the meaning and say that she might be moving. Buffy asks the fortune teller if that's what she meant, and she tells Buffy to ask someone she believes. Now, on to Andy and Jonah, and of course Cyrus fits into this one as well. Things get awkward right off the bat when Jonah doesn't sit next to Andy at the Bar Mitzvah, but sits on the opposite side of the bench. Andy doesn't really think she can be in the same room as Jonah, so Bex tells her to act as if it doesn't bother her. Jonah seems to be having a blast at this party as three girls keep following him around and fawning over him, and of course this just makes Andy sadder. Jonah eventually enlists Cyrus to help him get the girls to leave him alone, and Cyrus asks Jonah how he's doing since the whole Andy thing, and of course Jonah's kind of clueless, being like, what are you talking about? Cyrus says he thought they broke up, but Jonah's like, no, we didn't. Cyrus is then like, well, that's not what Andy thought, and Jonah chooses to avoid the rest of the uncomfortable conversation and walks away. Cyrus reports back to Andy, though, and thinks it's good news and says that she and Jonah haven't broken up. But Andy is just like, well, then why has he avoided me this whole time? Andy really isn't feeling up to the party, even more so now, and says that she can't be in the same room with Jonah, and Cyrus casually drops, I know how you feel, but Andy doesn't quite get what he means by that, and is like, no, you don't.
You're wondering if he even knows you're there. Or cares.
Yes.
I know exactly how you feel.
Andy is even then more confused by what's going on, and Cyrus finally decides now is the right moment to come out to Andy.
Cyrus?
She's my best friend. I want her to know she's not alone. Andy, you're not the only one who likes Jonah. I like him too.
Buffy reveals she already knew, and then Andy responds in actually the cutest way.
He's so frustrating, isn't he?
I spend way too much time trying to deconstruct his facial expressions.
Yeah, all two of them.
I honestly feel like everyone needs a good friend like Buffy and Cyrus. We then get a dance sequence with these three, and later at the fortune teller, Andy asks if she'll ever have a real boyfriend. The fortune teller says yes, and sooner than you think. Now comes the dilemma. Will it be Jonah or someone new? As Buffy, Andy, and Cyrus are discussing their fortunes, Andy mentions she doesn't think it's going to be Jonah since he doesn't even like to say that word. They then see Jonah walk up and look at them from a distance, so Andy starts to walk towards Jonah to talk to him when someone taps her on the shoulder, and it is the kid who was drawing the caricatures before. His name is Walker, and since Andy doesn't like caricatures, he drew her something else, a portrait. They then go off together to see his other work as Jonah is left standing looking really sad. Jonah then gets even more jealous when he sees Andy and Walker dancing together.
He's jealous.
For the first time ever, probably.
Welcome to the world of normal human emotions.
Did you ever think this was possible? What? That Andy would be breaking Jonah's heart?
Our little girl's growing up.
After dancing, Andy and Walker head to the photo booth but are interrupted when they hear Cyrus's mom talking to Jonah outside, saying she's looking for the caricature artist. Walker goes back to work and Andy tries to stay in the photo booth to avoid Jonah, but he obviously knows she's in there. They then talk and Jonah explains how he didn't think they broke up, and they talk about the bracelet and how she threw it away, but Andy ultimately says the feelings she used to have for him are gone. She thinks he must be relieved that she's not obsessed with him and blurting out, dimples, but he says he actually liked those things. Andy is saved by the bell when her phone rings, so she asks Jonah if they're good, and he says yeah, and they make a plan, not a date, to have baby taters at the Spoon later that week. He's definitely heartbroken though as Andy walks away. Now I'm not quite sure why this kid has a problem expressing his feelings for her or really anybody when he clearly has feelings. He just kind of puts on this robotic exterior and either smiles or frowns all the time. And Buffy even makes a joke that he only has 2 expressions. So will we see more about Jonah and what's going on? Well, we kind of do. We then see Jonah walking around the party and the place begins to spin and he has a panic attack, and TJ goes to get help for him. Cyrus's dad calms Jonah down and tries to get Jonah to talk and suggests that he opens up to his friends about what's going on. But just like TJ with his learning disability, Jonah doesn't want anyone to know what happened with him. Cyrus's dad tries to tell Jonah that his friends won't look at him differently, but he says he thinks differently about himself, so he's not going to tell anybody else. Jonah then shows up on Andy's doorstep saying he made a mistake and wants to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and, well,
I want you to be my girlfriend. I want to be your boyfriend. I want us to be a couple. What do you think?
Okay, so it took Andy talking and having fun with another guy for Jonah to realize his feelings. Like, I know this kid's 13, and, 13-year-olds, this is probably around their first relationship. They have a lot of growing up to do and probably have no idea what to do in a relationship. So I actually think these kids are learning a lot. They're progressing pretty quickly. Andy, though, seems to know her feelings pretty well. She seems in touch with them, but will she say yes to Jonah just because she is her first big crush, You kind of don't want to lose that. You want to hope that it works, right? Be positive about it. This show is also going for really all the important issues. You have the coming out, you have the military families, we have the learning disability. They talked about teen pregnancy, obviously, and then now we're bringing in Jonah's anxiety and his panic attacks. So they're really trying to kind of show every type of person, it seems like, that everyone can kind of look at this show and say, I identify with so-and-so. And I think that's interesting. I hope they don't cram too many issues in and make this kind of a show that's like, I'm, breaking barriers, because it is a kid's show, and I think there still needs to be that kid fun, which we did get in this episode, obviously, with all the dance scenes and, the jokes and all that kind of stuff. But it is cool to see this issue tackled. And I'm curious to see where Jonah's anxiety stems from. What's going on with him? Because we haven't gotten much on Jonah Beck. We don't know much about his backstory, his family, or really much of anything except that he, is the pretty boy that's good at Frisbee and everybody seems to like him. So hopefully in the second half of the season, we get more into the life of Jonah Beck. Now, I thought the moment of Cyrus coming out to Andy was actually really sweet, and instead of it turning into, Andy being jealous that Cyrus likes the guy that she liked too, they actually brought them closer together, and I love that. Now, let's take a look at the promo for the next episode.
Next on Andy Mack.
Andy and her friends stopped coming to the Spoon because they were afraid I might sit down and talk to them.
That didn't happen.
I don't want to be the mean girl.
I think I might be able to fix that.
I just want to get this.
Let me help you.
I'm moving.
There must be something we can do.
I got it! Oh my gosh, I can't believe it took me this long to think of this.
I just went into the fridge to get something that made me think of you.
Some people just aren't good at giving presents.
That was the wrong present, but this is the right one.
You got me another present.
Open it.
Right now?
Well, it seems like Jonah's making an effort to be a better boyfriend to Andy, but it doesn't really seem like he knows what he's doing. You can't just buy people gifts to, overcompensate for the other things that are lacking. Although there are some people who that works for, I guess. I mean, at that age, no one really knows how these relationships works. Buffy learns that she is moving, which is no surprise, but I'm guessing Andy's solution to this problem is maybe having Buffy go live with Cece and Pop, since, they have a lot more room in their house now, maybe act as their guardians. We'll have to wait until June to find out what is next, and yes, I know that is a long time. So to pass the time, hit the comments down below and let me know what you thought about this episode. Should Andy go with Walker or Jonah? We saw a glimpse of TJ actually being nice and trying to work with Buffy, so will that continue? Who will Cyrus come out to next? Will Bex and Bowie get back together? Let me know your favorite moment from this episode as well. Was it the dancing, Pop's jokes, or was it Cyrus coming out? What was it? Then you can click right over here to see 10 theories about who Mal's dad could be in Descendants 3. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you like what you see. My name's Lisa. I'll see you again real soon.